Well, good morning. Welcome to Big Cube Sunday morning. As always, it's going to be an interesting morning. But today I'm doing something I very rarely do. I'm going solo. And for some reason, my screen looks slightly different. Of course, I am a firm believer that the um, the system is designed to say, okay, have we had it the same long enough for people to be comfortable with it? Oh, good. Uh, now let's change it because right now I don't know what I'm seeing, but whether or not I'm seeing everything I'm used to seeing, what I'm looking for is my chat. Um, because without that, I don't know what you guys are wanting to talk about. And I saw that Andrew joined us. Good morning, Andrew. And oh, look, I found chats. I think it's chats. Yes, they're right. So here's the deal. When I'm up here by myself, I can very often just fall into my own thought process and forget that I'm supposed to be talking to you guys or topics. Um, so, more than ever, it's important that we use the chat. So, if you see me getting off topic, etc. But where I'm at today is one of the things that I have always loved was Sunday school. When I was a kid, if there was a Sunday school in Ness City, Kansas. Yes, Ness City, Kansas, a uh, a town that has slipped into oblivion when the oil money went away. And I tell you, when I went into a hotel there was an old Red Lion. Half the doors didn't work. The toilets didn't have toilet seats, a lot of them. But there was this wonderful little Mexican restaurant that apparently bought part of it and or rented out part of it, and it was like, wow. Um, so nothing's ever completely broken, nothing's ever perfect. But my point on this was Ness City, Kansas was one of the first places I saw where they really took an effort at Sunday school. They had down in the basement, painted gray, a table, kind of like a little table where all the kids, we could sit around it, and they had a sandbox where teachers could take and put little figures, dioramas. Now that wasn't our regular church, so we only went there sparingly. And my biggest disappointment in childhood life was I never got to go to a Sunday school there where they actually put the little figures in there. But since we are now, the world is what it is, where the Christian nationalists apparently own the world, and we are an indeed a Christian nations. Um, yeah, miniatures, war games, the and everything. I still like the notion that of David and Goliath. I've been watching some videos about slings, and at a distance, I'm not sure Goliath ever had a chance. But that's neither here nor there, because turned out that little kid David, that saved the world, um, hung around a lot with um, everybody's with Jonathan, and kind of helped Saul conquer the world. He was a wee bit of an ass. Um, Now we all know the story of David and Bathsheba. You know, Bathsheba was married to a guy, and David needed him gone. And so, what did he do? Famously, Uriah the Hittite, and because the Hittites weren't that far west of where the Israelites had settled about a couple of hundred years before. And it was just fascinating. Hey, yeah, she's cute. Is she married? Yeah. Oh, well, let's fix that. Because there's one thing I found interesting about reading about David. Marriage was, he was the epitome of biblical marriage that all of them want us to have. All the politicians, that if they see a woman they like, they want to be able to just get rid of her husband and take her. I mean, I'm not going to say that Trump murdered everybody's husband, but he never seemed to let the fact that a person was married uh, prevent his obtaining of their, um, being with them. So it may be very well that Trump is the living epitome or the rebirth of David. I'd say that, except if I understand correctly, David didn't have bone spurs. Um, Now, I'm going to assume, since I don't have a partner on the team with me this morning, can you all hear me? Hey, Andrew, be a spokesman. Good morning, Roberta. Or as one of my folks that tuned in every now and then asked me, is that the Roberta Gregory? You had, pretty good. But okay, thank you, Andrew. Then you guys can hear us. Well, before I launch into some of my favorite Bible stories that helped shape my life, were there any that you guys wanted to hear or hear my take on, or hear me say, "Oh wow, I never read that one that I recall," and going at it. Oh, thank God you can hear me, because if you couldn't hear me, all I would have is my gorgeous bald head to inspire you. I guess I could get a little marker and write it on the top. But anybody here ever heard of Diana, the daughter of Jacob and Leah? She had 12 brothers. They went on to become oh yeah, Samuel was a hell of a writer. I really wish that he had read any of my open submissions, because he had some good stuff. But the one that struck me about Diana, which was so here you are, you're in the land of the Canaanites. Jacob, he's got 12 sons and his daughter, and there's a fair number of people involved in this, probably a clan of maybe 70, 80, 100 or so. I don't know. I'm sure if I was to research it, I could find. But this was a land of time of nomadic tribes, and they were traveling around looking kind of hay. And oh, never question the authorship. Luke wrote Luke, Matthew wrote Matthew, Mark wrote Mark, uh, Thomas wrote Thomas, Revelations wrote Revelations, but it's all fun. But, you know, and then imagine, you're the writer. Imagine you actually were the writer of a book of the Bible. And then 12 centuries later, you come back and find out that somebody hired teams of editors who didn't speak your language, had different belief systems, and wanted your story to say things it didn't say, kind of like submitting to BQ Press, um, and republished it, and maybe even put somebody else's name on it. So you got to figure these guys, these biblical writers, are patient people. They did pretty good for themselves. But the uh, okay, no, but one of my favorite books is The Red Tent. She tells the story of Diana from the perspective of the woman. Ah, well, that's just it. Diana should be told from the perspective of the woman, but we don't know what really happened because all we know is this. Um, she's off visiting and apparently winds up with meeting the son of the chief. Chief's name was Hammer, oddly enough, Hamor. And it okay, Andrew, you're gonna have to tell me what EDIDTE. Edited, you meant by countries that didn't exist. Yeah. So anyway, so she goes in there and she meets this fellow called Shechem, and by some stories they fall in love. By other stories, he took her to his tent and um, raped her. And but when his father went to try and talk to Jacob, her father, about it, said, "My son is so in love with your daughter. Whatever we can do to meld our people and bring it all together and make life wonderful for each other," because Jacob had already got permission to build an altar, and building an altar those days was a kind of like planning a hey, our God's here, our God's better than your God, blah blah. Now this was before Moses, so yeah, the I think it was no, yeah, this was Jacob. This was before Moses, and so anyway, while they're there, um, two of the brothers find out that uh, this guy slept with their sister. Oh, you know, I mean, having 8 sisters, I was never that disturbed and felt the urge to go out and fight all the people that slept with my sister. I was a bookworm, and besides that, that's a lot of that'd be a lot of guys over the course of time. So anyway, and he says, "No, I love her. I want to marry her." And they say, "Well, what you're going to have to do then is you're going to have to undergo circumcision, and then we'll all be one big happy family." And you all know that circumcision has potential to be painful. Now, I have read various stories. Thank God, the original writers of the Bible never just had one version of a story. I mean, you could spend a lifetime reading all the versions of the Cain and Abel story, but in one of the versions, they used dirty knives when they did the circumcision of all the men in the town, and then what happens then? They all get infected. What happens then? On the third day of after circumcision, when everything is flowing yuck, and all the men are bedridden. I think it was Levi and one of the other brothers. They go into town and they kill all the men. The rest of the brothers heard about that and said, "Oh, well, let's not let that." They said, "Never let a crisis go to waste," you know. And so they went back to the town and took all the wealth, all the women, and all the animals. And depending on which brother you got, I'm not sure what they wanted which for. But, and then they took them and really pissed off their dad because he says, you know, we're just a tiny little group of people in the middle of Canaan. So you got to go read your own story to see how that went. But it just tells you, I went through everything I could read, and I did not find where, or everything I could remember, and did not find where I had been taught that story in Sunday school. Now, any of you guys ever teach that and get that in Sunday school? And question for um, Ellen, the you talked about the red tent. I've never read the red tent, have not looked up a summary of it. But in the red tent, was it because that's the actual debate among biblical scholars about whether or not the guy, the kid, raped her or fell in love with her. And so I don't know how the book treated it. I should now, so you know what I'm talking about. In case you're not watching the comments. But that does bring up an interesting question. In the Bible, men and women sometimes slept together. I know they left that part out of Sunday school too. Even Adam and Eve, except for they did make it clear that being nude was bad. So if you ever found yourself naked and fully aware of it, you're supposed to go get a fig leaf and sew them together and wrap them around your testes. And having grown up where I know what a fig leaf is, I have picked figs, eaten figs. If I'm looking for a plant to cover myself with, it ain't going to be a fig leaf. Those things are prickly, scratchy, you know. Some kind of sadist wrote that part. Oh, wait a second. That was God, right? Yeah, the Hebrews as, well, Cheryl, in the red tent, was she raped or did she fall in love? You're going to have to answer the question, or you don't have to answer the question. Nobody has to. Yeah, I know the Hebrews, for Cheryl's saying that Hebrews were a very patriarchal society. In theory, rape was wrong for them, but it seemed to not be something that was published or well. Oh, they fell. Oh, Cheryl, thank you, because that's the story I always wanted to believe. that because everybody who knows me knows that I believe in redemption, and unfortunately, I believe in happy endings. And I trust me, there was not a happy ending. Several examples of questionable parenting from Adam to David. Well, oh come on, Lot was a good parent, wasn't he? Um, Japheth. Now there's an example of parenting. How many people here know the story of Japheth? Oh, I like that. She was there on doing a good deed. Um, I take it um, the book kind of expanded the scope of the city, but still good. Gee, I have a different thought on that one, Baba. The that he was such an empty human being that when they saw a chunk of land that had nothing on it at all, they said, "Oh, that's a lot." And wait, I can't hear everybody laughing. I don't see any joke emojis rising to the heavens. Oops, I maybe did poorly. But remember, I was talking about David. Something genetically in the David genes must have been really, really bad, or the um, they were really prolific because they must have been descended from Adam, who, with only the help of Eve, actually managed to populate an entire world quick enough that their sons could find wives that weren't really their sisters. But so here's to that. But if I read my Bible correctly, uh, no. Well, she might have been in the kitchen with Session, but um, probably that's probably it. She had grabbed a sausage, a butcher knife, and said, "Here, no, it's real simple. They're only going to do this." And he must have really loved her because he still went through with it. But David had a son, Amnon. Now I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking Amnon is something of a Donald Trump type character. Um, he wants what he can't have, and once he has it, he doesn't want it anymore. So there it was. Um, David had so many wives that none of his kids were fully related. They were all half this, half that. And Amnon noticed that Absalom, those of you who don't remember Absalom was the son of David who later rebelled and said, "Dad, I hate you," and was went into rebellion against the king. Was winning because I guess the king was a wee bit of an asshole, and was running out of subjects who would support him because all their wives were sleeping in David's palace, or like Uriah the Hittite, dead. The so anyhow, well, okay. Well, let me get that one on there for you. But and then I'll get on back to Absalom, Amnon, and oh God, what was her name? Oh, Tamar. It's an Amnon starter. Okay. Uh, the the Baba I knew had better puns than that. You must be a fake. Um, the but anyway, where were we? Oh yeah. Um, sh- um, Tamara. I mean, Tamara was his half sister, and he saw her and he said, "Wow, I gotta have her." Uh, and she was kind of like, "Back off, perv." And so he got sneaky. He grew some bone spurs or some other fake thing that kept him from going off to war with his father. And but he said, "Oh, I'm so ill. The only thing that's gonna make me well is if maybe my sister would come and cook for me and feed me while I'm and I'll get better then." You think, huh, Dad? Huh? Yeah, you know what I mean, Dad. And unfortunately, Dad probably did know what he meant. So there you go. She gets over there, and he says, "Hey, all you servants and everybody, you guys can go home now. I think me and my sister want to be alone." Then he says to his sister, "Oh, I'm too ill to get up and go to the dining room. You'll just have to come feed me in the bedroom." Now, she's a smart woman. She figures something was wrong here. And sure as heck it was. And to be very blunt, he rapes her. And it's kind of a big deal. She goes to David, and he kind of shrugs and says, "Yeah, no, he's my oldest son." And so she goes to her brother. He says, "Give me some time. I'll take care of it." In the meantime, unlike she chose to do something very public and embarrassing to the family. She had a beautiful long sleeved robe as a virgin daughter of a king that was meant to tell the world she was a virgin daughter of a king. She ripped it up, dumped ashes on her head, and went out and sat in the mud. Okay. Suddenly, everybody knows. And it's an amazing thing when it comes to rape if everybody knows something might be done. Well, except for the Epstein files. That's a that's another story. I've often said I don't want to see the Epstein files released to the media. The media just wants more press. What I want to see the Epstein files is released to a panel of judges and prosecutors fully empowered to act on it. Then we might see justice instead of headlines. Just a pain. So, anyways, Absalom says, "Hey, I'm going to shear my sheep. Hey, Dad, you want you and the brothers all come, especially Amnon. I'd really like to see Amnon there." David's a little suspicious. And but it's okay. He finally gets his way, and all the brothers uh, show up. David doesn't, and the brother that did the raping, Amnon, he tells his all his people, they're out there shearing sheep, lots of sharp implements. Said he's going to get drunk because I know him, and when he does, kill him. Okay, and that was how he got justice for his sister. Otherwise, would have gotten on, and I can't undo anything, but it did, and that was if I was to say that one of the people in the Bible that I always thought Absalom got a raw deal because David was so popular when he rebelled against David. We never asked, did he have a good reason? Well, he covered up the rape of his sister. That's a good reason. But Absalom didn't have a good ending. If I remember my Bible stories, he had a great head of hair. And he was riding away, and that head of hair got caught in a tree branch, and he hung there until one of David's people came and killed him. William Faulkner was there too. Okay. The so anyway, these are the Bible stories that we don't always hear. We don't know why David and Absalom were on the outs. Well, now we know. I mean, and there's all of these different stories that are out there that we can read, that we were taught. And it's just amazing how well, who was it? I'm trying to remember. Oh, I published a story once. It's called Don't Get the Bible Wet. It was, oh God, are you with us today? No, but in this one, all the Bible, the men had all taken the Bible and glued the pages shut that had anything they didn't want people to know. Okay. Then this girl dropped her Bible in a mud puddle. Oh my God. She read the whole thing. And hell broke loose. But that's one of the, yet they had nothing to do with being a Christian. The unreliable narrator. Thank you for bringing that up, Baba. I love the Bible's unreliable narrators. Of course, you guys all know that when I was a kid, the reason I read the Bible was ministers are boring preachers because they don't tell the juicy parts. They don't get up and tell you the story of Samson, who was, as a kid growing up, with my version of, hey, Conan the Barbarian. I don't have to read Conan the Barbarian. I can read the Bible. Now, let me ask you this. What would happen to the kid who brought Conan the Barbarian to church and sat there during church services and read it? You would be deemed possibly worthy of a smack. But if you read the story of Samson and all of this, the Delilah, the sex, the deceit, the lies, the murder, the blindings, and the eventual revenge. Oh my God, was the Bible a story of revenge? And considering that it, because all the people in the Bible were not Jewish. They were of the Middle East. And man, revenge seems to be in the Middle East, revenge is a big deal. And I really think that the world would be a better place if people oftentimes post those memes that says, if you could get rid of one thing in the world, what would it be? It would be the concept of revenge, righting a wrong. That would be it. Because revenge is, now don't go quoting Shakespeare or Klingon. I'm not sure which one that is, but there we go. So, I know, but why? What is the value? I mean, life is so sacred. It was a tough times. There was not, it wasn't like every rock you turned over had a stake underneath it. Okay, so are we going to have the debate? Yeah. But yeah, Cheryl, it was cottage industry. Everybody did it. The, uh, Leah, um, that was the guy he got killed. So yeah, it's a mess. But I am keeping it going too much. Like is all of it is violence. Um, but there were better parts of Sunday school. Um, there was Queen of Sheba. Oh, here's a question for you. Trivia: who was Solomon's mother? Anybody know? Yeah, somebody will tell me eventually. And not yet. Okay, still searching. The the rest of it is just that there's some seriously Andrew, Andrew, Andrew. How could you say that? It was not Mrs. Solomon. You know, there were some people that say, and his mother was Bathsheba. You remember the woman who liked to sunbathe where David could watch her, and then said, "Oh, gee, you're gonna have to kill my husband if you want me." Bummer, because there were other ones that were. Um, there were other ones that you have to give credit to were better at it. I forget whose wife. Um, Abigail. There we go. David was on the run from Saul, I believe, and he went to this fella that he said, "Hey, I need food. I need food for my people. Can you give me some?" He said, "No." Well, David. Then he made a mistake. He was married to a woman that David thought was cute, but her name was Abigail, and right now, I can tell you there are Jewish scholars turning over in their graves, uh, at my take on this, who thought David was cute too. And so she said, "Hey, tell you what, you don't need to kill my husband. I'm here. And here, let me raid my husband's storehouses and bring you guys food and stuff." And then later on, she went ahead and married him. And like I said, David was had a certain, except for the fact that he never got bone spurs, had a Trumpian view towards marriage. Because, good God, every time he met a new woman, he thought he'd have her. Um, yeah, that's possibly. Well, actually, Cheryl, I have a grandmother I found out later in life that was Jewish. And by God, in Kansas, she was the most ardent churchgoer. Even though it was 8 miles to the church, she never missed a service. Um, I'm told she drove a wagon or a buggy. I don't know. But I can't find out much more about it because all the people that know are dead and the rest don't talk about it. Oh, wait. That sounds like a discussion of the David's family tree. Here's a good one for you if you like trivia. What happened to all the gold that uh, David got and Solomon used to build his temples and stuff? And it didn't all just go to Persia. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do with you. But the turns out that a bunch of it wound up with now I forget his name. But he even had a guest appearance on the Civilization. It started with an A. Oh, well, we'll forget that. So, seriously, guys, tell me about what your favorite Bible stories were, um, if you had any, because I can tell you, uh, I'm not advocating that we teach all of our children, use Bible stories that I'm talking about today to teach our children. But I tell you what, these stories, they do let me give me something interesting. I can understand why Netanyahu is such an asshole. You remember when before we were at the war we're at, the they fired a whole bunch of missiles at him over his war crimes in Gaza. Oh, and by the way, war crimes in Gaza, Hamas committed war crimes in Gaza. Israel committed war crimes in Gaza. We're committing war crimes in Iran. I think war is a crime, but the absolutely using of the weapons of war to destroy the civilian infrastructure because the military infrastructure is too hard to hurt is just wrong. I mean, people need power. They need oil to cook. They need refrigeration to have food. And when you take that away, it's and because your ego demands it, just pisses me off. Yeah, what I think Trump said something once. What's the point of having this big army if you don't use it? Or the most powerful army in the world. Water. It's about water. Is that what you're telling me, Andrew? Well, Miss Solomon, they should have. That's just bad, bad, bad. You break the civilians, and the leaders must also. But maybe we just say, if we would stop blowing up dams, there'd be enough water. If we'd stop bombing power plants, there'd be enough power. Andrew's right. In the next decade, it's going to be about water. Until we, one of the things that I think shifting gears from fairy tales to fairy tales, we could talk about the utter evil of wind turbines. That do you realize that if you can see a wind turbine from yeah, and the water's in the ground, but you can't pump out enough to fill a lake like that. The we got our water's going to have to be desalinated. That's where our water's going to have to be coming from. And to do that, you need energy. To get the energy to do that, you need electricity from um, grids. You need wind turbines. And the people, the oil industry, there's nothing they hate worse than electricity that they're not making billions on. Oh, the boneheads are talking about a pipeline from Lake Michigan to what? Yeah, Lake Michigan to isn't Lake Powell a long, long, long way from Lake Michigan? And the problem with taking the water from Lake Michigan is whenever the people in who they want to take but never replace, if you are going to farm, they learned a long time ago. You got to leave land fallow once in a while. You got to grow beans once in a while. You got to give back. You can't just keep farming it forever and dumping chemicals on the soil, because eventually the residue is that you will poison the soil and no amount of fertilizer will ever make it grow again. You got to take care of the world so that the climate doesn't just get completely out of control. How are we going to do this when we have people who only want to take? There's never any sacrifice. My parents and grandparents, you hear the stories and read about World War II, World War One, victory gardens. In World War II, my grandfather ran a scrapyard. He was willing to go to the military and sign up, and they said, no, what you're doing is too valuable. We need you in the ground in the United States. And we rationed sugar. We rationed tires. But these days, nobody got any rationing. Nobody got any restrictions on the lifestyle they could afford. No rich man suffered when we went to war in Iraq, in Iran. Hell, I don't even think we had that happen in Vietnam. But that's the rich never suffer when we go to war. They meant simply profit. It's the poor man dies. Or as Jimmy Stewart said in that great speech he made in it says, you'll find it's those people, those poor people, those those not at the top who do most of the living and dying and working and, but the rich don't get it. Well, okay, I'm curious now. What's that link take me to? And don't tell me it takes me to the. I'll let everybody have an opportunity to go look at it, because I'd really hate to think it's going to take me to a Smothers Brothers comedy hour. Oh, Fortunate Son. Yeah. I don't know. This whole mess, this whole thing, that we have a president and 32% of our population is perfectly happy that he is found liable for sexual assault. They don't care. Is this the world we want to raise our daughters in? I'd rather tell them a story about how the woman he's raped uh, came back to his house the next day and stuck something sharp in him deeply. I'd rather teach her that story than, oh, you can grow up and be president if you have enough money and enough lawyers. Um, to Geography by Jeff. But we've got to stop this shit. I mean, we talk about the Epstein. You guys already heard my opinions on that. That when at least the Democrats have half the right idea. I don't always think they apply it with that much hope. In fact, I was sitting there chatting with our candidate for the, we got a real good candidate for the 4th Congressional District here in Washington State. His name's John Dureski. He's a combat veteran. He's a good neighbor to his folks, and he's going to be on the show one of these days. And but after the party was over, we've been doing some canvassing. A buddy of mine and I made one fundamental awareness that says, you know what? The biggest fear the Republicans must have is that someday the Democrats are really going to get organized. I just love it. But that's going to be the world. Adam Schiff is now complaining about Canada not buying California wine. Well, it's okay. We're not buying Canadian whiskey, are we? And Adam Schiff, you are a fortunate son. I went to read his biography, book he wrote a while back. And by the time I was done, I said, how is it that this man had ever appealed to the working class? I mean, he's not a bad man. It's just that that's the privilege that I see when I read about so many of these people. They're not saying, oh, hey, they're not buying the soybeans. They're not buying our corn. They're not buying our textiles. They're not buying the things that is mass produced, but that keeps the working man working and keeps food on the table. No, they're worried about the wine. One of the most unnecessary California wine, one of the most unnecessary products in the world next to California pistachios. They're nice, but good God. Just use the land to produce food. Stop turning it into estates for the wealthy. And let's get on with it. And yes, what was it Will Rogers said? Because Will Rogers said a lot of things before he decided to go for a flight. Will Rogers, by the way, is the patron saint of thinking Southern men and women. Oh, here we go. I'm missing something. Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah, they do employ a few people. We have a lot of vineyards up here, but I can tell you this. Before I turn the vineyards, one of the biggest things they managed to do is that old miracle of turning water into wine. But and I like a good glass of wine, but I like to think that we feed the people, you know. I don't know. I can always annoy people by saying, um, let's do something different. the They have a huge percentage of California wine is actually made from table grapes, so they don't. It's mostly manufactured mechanical picking. Yeah, but that's another story. So, speaking of stories, I'm sorry, I'm sitting here just rambling on. Um, I forget sometimes that you guys have heard all my stories, so I need to make sure I always have good guests. And you would have gotten a really good one today if he and I had agreed to get him on the show uh, before the. Okay, the but yeah, no. So here's to the wine drinkers. For all the people out there want to boycott BQ books, uh, because I'm not advocating for Mark and wine. Well, it's okay. And let me close out this today with just a simple thing. Bible is a history of a people and their stories and things that they want to remember. And so I love the fact that the story of Isaac uh, and Isaac taking his son up to the mountain to sacrifice him because he thinks some invisible guy in the sky told him to, and he uh, gets an excuse not to, and he doesn't kill the kid. But at the same time, I wish Jephthah, who had the same event with a daughter, had said, "No, I'm not going to kill my daughter." But it goes to say we had a word earlier about it being a patriarchal society. How about a society without human sacrifice? How about a society without letting our daughters be raped and saying, give us time, you know? Abraham took Isaac. Yeah, thank you. How did I forget get that one backwards? But let me say this right before I die of a heart attack caused by my shock at the lightning bolt coming down through the corner of the house. And that is, if a God is a reflection of humanity or gods, we are, as a race, freaking assholes, short sighted, unmindful assholes. Because as I read what all the people do in the name of God, they, yeah, I know, they get a little voices are ahead. And, oh, yeah, I know I'll tell you, Jana, and I will not, this is not an endorsement of the person, but there's a book called The Genesis of Justice written by Alan Dershowitz. And I'll even go so far as to tell you in the dedication, he thanks Jeffrey Epstein. And I don't know what for, but I'll bet it had to do with a little quiet relaxation on an island so he had time to write. But it's called, it takes 10 stories out of Genesis and talks about what it teaches us about justice, courts, proof, what's fair, what's not fair. And it's definitely worth the read, no matter what you think of um, Dershowitz, because I don't think much of Dershowitz. So I'll tell you, go find it in a used bookstore. Um, okay, the I don't know. Come on, the parables or midrash, whatever you want to call them. There are so many different. It's ways that the rabbis or the teachers took all the stories and turned them into the ways of teaching. And if we look at the Bible and let ourselves be taught by these stories, that there are consequences that and that quick revenge is not always the best thing. Look back when Jacob, his family had to flee because his uh, Simon and Levi went out and killed a town full of people out of short-sighted revenge, um, and caused the deaths of so many. It wasn't worth it. Revenge is not worth it. Revenge and short-sighted, evil-minded revenge is why we're fighting this stupid Iraq war. Oh, and the last point I'll make before I go is, remember when before the war, over the Gaza, Iran had fired hundreds of missiles. The United States said, we don't want a war. So they shot down virtually every one of the missiles but one. And Netanyahu decided the mere act of them being fired, not that there was no consequence, was good enough for him to fire back and kill people. We I would I just I cannot fathom why we keep doing this stuff and think that we're going to get a different result. Because you earn points with people that don't matter. The when somebody told me once that Trump's biggest claim to fame is he hates the same people that his supporters hate. You know, he punishes people that they hate. He punishes people they don't like. Well, that's going to be short-sighted, because guess what? You can't punish people forever. You can't keep hate. The world needs more than hate. World needs more than revenge. Okay, I'm shutting up now. And oh, you got to remember, Ellen, even though people forget that we overthrew an elected government of Iran during the 50s, they will always remember the hostage crisis, um, and think that Iran is our enemy. And I do not have any, Iran supports terrorism. Okay. We got into a war with Iran. We had a little weasel in our government. We had a war criminal in the Israeli government, and we all liked the idea that we could go make everybody happy and put these people that did support terrorism, as do we. You know, we need not put on our clutch our pearls and say, "Oh my God, the United States supported terrorism." Yes, we have. Um, so has Iran, and but they didn't deserve to have 165 children burned alive. Um, yeah, Ronald Reagan stretching out the hostage crisis instead so he could win an election. Um, who says it's hard to believe that we're half a chromosome away from being a chimpanzee? Yeah, I think we might have been better off if Homo erectus had survived. But that's another story altogether. Um, you can get me going on politics and I'll never shut up. But I have to go do other things. Thank you very much, Ellen, because we can't just vilify the people we're at war with because we disagree with them. If we're going to vilify them for what they've done. Um, and if you're going to hate your neighbor for something they've really done, and then try and get over it and stop hating your neighbor. Work together, plant a bigger garden. It's a better world when the gardens are bigger. Yeah, and Israel's going to build settlements in Gaza and Lebanon. People don't always remember this, but Israel had settlements in Gaza. They, in the name of peace, they shall say peace, peace, but there'll be no peace. There'll be wars and rumors of wars. They gave up their settlements in Gaza and people went back to Israel. And promptly got taken over and turned into places where missiles were fired. You cannot tell me that Palestinian people may want peace, but the Palestinian leadership doesn't want peace, because if there's peace, they won't be the leaders anymore. And the same here. If we stop doing wars, think about all the money we're going to lose on arms dealing. And that's part of our reasoning. But I'll just shut up now. Hey, did I tell you we have a new book coming out? We're working on it anyway. And that is, as I wave the picture, An American Storm. I've got to put it right side up, or Karen will shoot me. And the artist there, Jeff Sturgeon, might tell me stop putting his picture upside down. I'd like to teach the world to sing. And what I find out every time I sing, the world would like to teach Bob to sing. But anyway, thank you guys. It's been good. Any final comments that anybody thinks we need to get away from this, other than bombs are for bullies, guns are for idiots, revenge is a sour dish, and our treatment of Cuba isn't that well. You'd have thought we'd have learned with the Bay of Pigs. And if Israel builds settlements in Gaza and Lebanon, then I can tell you there will never be peace, because even they can't even control their own people enough to keep them from kicking farmers out of Gaza and taking their land. If God gave them the land of Canaan, then why did he give it to Canaan first? Why did he put people there if he's going to get it to Lebanon? Oh, I forgot. God's a frickin' asshole. God likes to watch war movies. And like many of us most people who like to watch war movies, like to watch them from a distance where they're not at risk. Now, having said that, I am positive I can earn some negative comments. But you guys take care.